Welcome, everybody, to Toastmasters in the community. I'm your host this evening, Jane Costaiola, and my guest, Somesh Chablani, is joining me today. I'd like to welcome you here, and I'd like you to sit back and relax. We have a show filled with laughter, communication, and fun. So thank you for coming. I'd like to tell you a little bit about my guest here. Somesh Chablani has been associated with Toastmasters for the past 4 years, and he is currently a member of 3 clubs, and he serves as Area 41 Director. Somesh works in corporate America, but on a personal side, he enjoys conducting youth leadership programs and actively practices laughter yoga. And today, his speech is going to be concerning this. So welcome, Somesh.
Thanks, Jane, for inviting me, and it's great to be here today.
Yes, how did you get involved in laughter yoga?
A few years back, I had gone on a vacation, and I came across one of my friends who introduced me to Dr. Madan Kataria, a medical doctor in India. And I was truly amazed with what they teach, and it's all about laughing without any reason. And that's why I'm here today with a big smile, because it helps to reduce stress and, more importantly, keeps you always motivated, specifically when you are a Toastmaster.
Very good. Thank you so much. So I am giving our first speech today, and it is, Am I Really Funny? And so I would like to start our show off with some laughter. Am I really funny? I wonder sometimes if I'm funny. I have many things in my life that are very serious and don't always give me the opportunity to laugh. But as we are going to learn in today's show how important laughter is, I wonder if I myself am truly funny. I try to make jokes. I try to keep a smile on my face. I try to keep everything light and airy and fun. But I wonder sometimes, am I really funny? Do I make good jokes, or are they just all right? It's not always what you say. Sometimes it's how you say it. It could be about the timing of when you say it. You may think something is funny, but the people around you may not be ready to laugh. Now, I have been stretching myself out lately, and I started to do stand-up comedy. In this forum, I need to be funny, or why else would I be standing up and doing a comedy show? It's amazing that the jokes that I think are funny, not everybody finds funny. One of my very funny jokes is, my husband left me, and I was a little upset. But if my cleaning girl leaves me, you'll find me in the fetal position. And that is a misdirection, because people would think, my husband left me. I should be upset over that. But in the meantime, I'm more upset if the cleaning girl should leave me. It's all on how you surprise somebody. Are they surprised by what you present? No matter how you say things or how you do things, if people expect it, it's not as funny. So I wonder and wonder and wonder, am I really funny? It's amazing that I say to my children, you know, do this, do that, you know, can you help me? Nobody wants to help me when I ask for help. So I tell my family, if you should come home and find me drop dead on the floor, it's because my family said to me, whatever you want, Ma, whatever you want. They don't always find that very funny. I think to myself again, how funny am I if my own family doesn't laugh at me? And then my daughter tells me, Ma, let the Brooklyn come out. So being that I was born and bred in Brooklyn, and as you could tell, have this very heavy Brooklyn accent, I now use it to be funny. I hope you find it amusing. Certain people say to me, when you say things just the way you say them, Jane, they're funny. I don't hear that laughter in my own head, but I guess I also don't hear my own accent in my own head. So I hope you find me funny. I wonder sometimes, how can you be funny in serious situations? And I will tell you a quick story about my dad. When my dad was very sick, he was terminal, and we were all at the house, and he wasn't very active in the conversations. But we were telling a story about when my son was very young, and my son didn't like my father, and my mother would say, Papa does so much for you. Papa gets you your bottle, he gets you your blanket. And my son would say, I still don't like him. And by the time we would, almost finished with the story, my father, from a quiet position, says, and now that's why he has to wipe my butt. Well, laughter ensued in our living room. And it is one of the funniest moments I remember of my father in those last few weeks that we had with him. So I think I might get my laughter from my father. I might get my funny gene from my dad, because he had a sense of humor and he knew how to use it even until the end. Now, I hope that everybody in our studio audience and in our TV audience takes the time to be funny, because it's not only important to laugh, but it's important to make other people laugh. So as I conclude this speech today, I pass on my sense of laughter and my sense of joy, and I hope that I am really funny. Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody. I'd like to welcome our next speaker, Ev Williams. And Ev is new to our Staten Island community, and I am very happy to have him on the show today, speaking about communication. So everybody welcome Ev Williams.
Thank you, Jane, for welcoming me. Good morning, everyone. I'm here to speak to you about why it's important to continue developing your communication skills. Before I get into that, I want to speak about the word communication. For me, it's always important to understand what the word is and where it derives. Communication comes from the word communis. It's the etymology, the study of the origin of words. So communis means common, it means joint exchange, and it means, in words that have communis or commune in it, community, commune, these words are basically community, togetherness. So when we're communicating, we're having a joint exchange. There's some commonality of understanding. And sometimes in our lives, in our interactions with others, we think that conversation is communication, and that's not always the case. Conversation comes from conversar, which means to keep company with. Now, just because you're in the company of someone else doesn't mean that you're communicating effectively, right? Hey, how are you? I'm okay. That doesn't require an understanding. That's company conversation. Now, to communicate with someone requires an understanding. And this is important because in our personal lives and in our professional lives, We are not always communicating effectively, which leads to discord. So, for example, you may find yourself at work, and you know the common phrase, it's business, it's not personal. It's always personal, because in businesses, you find persons with personalities and personal viewpoints. So this leads to the idea of why it's critical to continue developing your communication skills. Now, Toastmasters can help with that. Oftentimes, we learn how to communicate with others from our parents, our guardians, or those around us. And those are not necessarily the best ways to communicate with folks that are not familiar with your tone or your body language. And you see, there's a study, they call it the 7% rule. It was done by Dr. Morabian sometime in the 60s. And in this study, though there are some flaws in it, he says that 7% of communication is verbal, leaving the 93% nonverbal. 38% of that 93 is your vocal variety, your tone, and the 55% is your body language. So if you, watching the program Mute Your TV, you can essentially derive some message by looking at my body language. Am I speaking aggressively, or am I calm? Are my veins coming from my forehead or my neck? But of course, you wouldn't get the entire message, because the word is also important. I think the important takeaway from this study is that your body language and your tone has to be congruent with your message for effective communication. Now we can take this and apply it to our everyday lives, because communication is vital. So if you're in a work environment and you do something wrong, let's say you make a mistake, and your superior chastises you, an effective way to communicate in that situation is not necessarily to put down the person making the error, because your body language and your tone is communicating a different message from what the end goal is, which is to work as a team and to complete an obligation or a task or a deed. Even in your family, when you're raising your family, you want to discipline the child in some capacity. Raising the voice is not always the best communication skill. Everyone has different ways of communicating, so it's important to ensure that we are capturing everyone's ability to understand what we are trying to communicate. Again, communication is not conversation. Communication. It's important to continue developing communication throughout our entire lives, because each area of life is impacted by communication, whether it be politics, whether it be legislation, whether it be social endeavors, spiritual endeavors. All of these things relate to our ability to communicate effectively. And if we're not constantly looking at how we are coming off, how people are perceiving us beyond the words that we speak, how are we moving our body when we talk? Is the tone matching what we want to convey? Or are we just reacting quickly because we want some result? So it's always key to continue developing our communication. And I think that Toastmasters is a great opportunity to do something like that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ev. That was a very, very interesting speech. It's amazing. We don't always think about how we communicate. We just communicate. We just speak, sometimes without thinking. But it is very important when we deal with people to think about that. And that speech gave us the opportunity to understand more about how we communicate. Samesh, I see what you're interested in with laughter and yoga, so I'm going to take a guess that you communicate with happiness.
Absolutely, Jane. Not only just happiness, but with full energy and with a positive attitude.
That is so important. Positive, having a positive attitude. And that's what we want to share with you with our speeches and with our interactions, how to be positive, not only with each other, but with yourself, to have that positiveness in your own mind. So now I would like to introduce our next speaker, Somesh Chablani, and his speech is an introduction to laughter yoga and how a laughter pill can help you stay positive and change the world. Everybody welcome Somesh Chablani.
I think I lost it. Where did it go? Where did it go? Anyone in the room found it? In the audience, did you see it? Did you catch it? Oh, I think I found it. My smile. Fellow Toastmasters and guests and the audience, a recent study by the American Psychological Society revealed an astonishing fact. 83% of working America are too stressed about their jobs, and 1 out of 2 of them struggle to smile and be happy. Few years back, I was one of them, until I discovered the joy of laughter through laughter yoga. I was introduced to Dr. Madan Kataria, a medical doctor in India who introduced laughter yoga, which is a very simple technique based on breathing exercises. But the true essence of laughter yoga is laughing without a reason. Laughter yoga has many benefits. To name some few, it helps to reduce stress and anxiety, because when we laugh, our body and mind produce a lot of positive chemicals, and that releases stress right away. The second, it reduces blood pressure. Good for health. Stay healthy. The third, an exercise of 15 minutes of laughter each day through the year helps anyone to reduce approximately 5 pounds of weight. Isn't that great? And it's free. And the number 4 benefit, and a great tip to the ladies out here and who are watching, it helps as an anti-aging cream and removes all the wrinkles from your face, making it shining and glowing. Isn't that great? Laughter yoga not only taught me these benefits, but I also made tremendous amount of friends, especially when I'm in Toastmasters and it tells you to greet and shake hands. We laugh and we have a lot of fun, because as a speaker, you need to be motivated and first be charged up. I practice laughter yoga every day from the last 5 years with my family. I got certified in laughter yoga, and today I'm here to share how can you practice laughter yoga in 3 steps and in 3 minutes, what I call 3 in 3. The first step is what I call S, which is start with a big smile. The second step is you breathe and then we laugh it out. And I'll demonstrate that to you. Breathe in with positive energy. Take your hands up and laugh it out with a yay. Again, I will show you. And you can all practice with me together in the audience. Breathe in with positive energy. And let's laugh it out. And the third, we need to remove all the different judgments and think people are judging us by doing this. and become children by clapping hands like this. Very good, very good. Yay! Let's do it once more. Very good, very good. Yay! Friends, you just witnessed how easy it is to practice laughter yoga in just 3 steps. What I call S for smile, and then you do laughter, which is L, and the third is clap. So remember, S, L, C. Laughter in 3 minutes. I have personally benefited from laughter yoga. It will also be a great remedy when you are stressed out in any situation. Let's imagine you all are in the traffic. Don't we get all irritated when the traffic lights are in red for a lot of time, or there's a big traffic ahead of us? We still honk or we get irritated. The best use of time in that car is to laugh out. Or think of a good memory and just enjoy or giggle with your laughter. It will make you positive and energy and make the best use of time. As I mentioned, there are a lot of good benefits of laughter. My wife taught me always this theme of sharing is caring. And I'm here to do the same and carry on that theme. I have mentored a lot of corporate clubs. There are 16,000 plus laughter clubs all over the world. I go and volunteer because Toastmasters teaches us do service, and service really provides you and great leadership. So with laughter yoga, practice it, enjoy it. I practice with my family, as I mentioned earlier, every day. Charlie Chaplin, the great comedian, said, "A day without laughter is a day wasted." I take my laughter pills every day. Do you?
Somesh, that was excellent.
Thank you, Jen.
I am so happy and laughing at that speech.
Ha ha ha. Thank you, Jen.
It really is a benefit. This is something that everyone, every young, old, in between, can benefit from. Laughing every day. I know that I always prefer to watch comedies on TV instead of dramas. And not that I don't want to see a drama or see the news, but I know that when I watch TV, I want to laugh and I want to be happy. And I'm so glad that you shared that with us today. So this was a great message. I hope everybody starts to practice laughter yoga. I know that I'm going to start to practice that, and I'm going to share it with my family and my community. And now, I'd like to introduce our distinguished Toastmaster, Joan Maurizio, and her speech is, "You're done, so pass it on." So everybody please welcome Joan Maurizio.
Thank you. And I just want to add, I agree, amen to everything you just said to him. That was great. I had a dilemma. I was already subscribing to Reader's Digest, and Mothers Against Drunk Driving called me up, and I always try to do something for them every year. She said, "Well, what do you like to read?" I said, "I'm tapped out. I don't want to read anymore." And then I thought about the large print. I said, I give speeches, and it's so much easier to hold this up instead of the small one. So I said, let me do that. And then I said, well, what do I really need to hold on to 2 copies for? So I said, hold on to one, because I like to read the jokes. I'll forget a joke I've read 3 years earlier, so I'll read them over again. But I like to pass it on and let somebody else have the same fun. And what I'd like to say is I found somebody that actually requested this, saying that her dad appreciated the large print. And I said, great. What's so nice about it is after he's done in the place that he was in, he could pass it on. So this is what I really love about recycling, when it gets passed on and on and on. What I'd like to do is interest the rest of you in Reader's Digest, because I think it's a wonderful magazine. And one of the things I found out was about hot air ballooning. There are 13 things 13 soaring facts about hot air balloons. I just want to give two. One of them is they have balloon launches and they're races, and one is called the Hare and the Hounds. And it's just like you would do on the ground, except you're not killing animals. It's all about the first balloon lifts off, and then a minute or two later, the other balloons lift off. Now what happens is they follow this hare, the hounds in the other balloons follow this hare, and they get to a point where the hare lands, and whoever can land closest to with their balloon is the winner of that race. And I think that's great. It's not who's fastest, it's who gets closer to that balloon. Now, another thing that I wanted to say was, I was so surprised when you hear about these things, because nobody brings them out for years, and then you find out, wow, 20, 30, 40 years ago, there was a mistake. And the Wizard of Oz, the mistake was, she kept saying she wanted to go back to Kansas. In the meantime, there's an envelope that states, this is State Fair of Omaha, which is in Nebraska. So I thought that was very interesting. I have not seen the movie to verify that, but I know I have sent in things about mistakes I've seen in movies, and I've actually gotten a couple of T-shirts. But I think what a lot of us need to know is how to keep ourselves healthy. And one of the articles in this is things you should eat for good health. And I want to show this because this is a 2-page spread, and some of the foods are on here. So I'd like to talk about 20 foods with the power to heal, because after you've gotten through laughing, because that alone will heal you, go ahead and have a good healthy meal, and you may live until 120 instead of 70. 20 foods to heal. Mixed nuts. It's not just heart disease, it's not just diabetes, it's not just cholesterol, cancer, and energy, constipation, weight gain, anemia. It helps with all that. They taste good. They're great little guys. I love nuts of all kinds. I know pistachios are good for lowering your cholesterol, so is cashews. Cashews will lower your cholesterol. But they lower all these other things too. And if you're constipated, eat extra nuts. Kale. Kale is good for eye conditions. Now, I knew it was a dark green vegetable, but it's also good for heart disease. If you have heart disease, you can start hammering away at that heart disease and make yourself healthier. It's actually a cancer fighter, and it's good for stronger bones. Everybody's under the belief that calcium is good for bones. Mistaken, mistaken, mistaken. Calcium, especially the stuff you get from milk today, is not the best thing in the world. It's full of hormones. That's why everybody is getting all these problems with their hormone control. Salmon is good for brain function, inflammation, stroke, and rheumatoid arthritis. And it's also good for your brain, and that's the one thing they didn't say. Oh, it does say brain, sorry. I can't read, that's why I'm here. Pumpkin seeds, they're good for digestion, they're good for your heart health, they're good for blood sugar regulation, and one thing they didn't say was it's also good for men's prostate health. Edamame, that's a strange word, but edamame, it lowers your rate of heart disease and certain cancers. Olive oil, it reduces your bad LDL. Just think of LDL as the lousy. L is for the word lousy. Think of the HDL as healthy, happy heart. I'm telling you, this guy adds so much for my thoughts as far as happiness. It's very good. Does less platelet sticking. So that means if your calcium that you have taken so much and you take too much of it is clogging your hearts, this will unclog it. So that's great. And it'll also stop you from having a stroke. So that's good. Cauliflower decreases your inflammation. It slows cancer cell growth. And there's a few other things for sure cauliflower is. Besides, if you've seen lately, they're making pizza dough out of cauliflower, which I think is great. Farro, which comes from the Mediterranean diet. It helps you lose weight. It reduces inflammation. It cuts the risk of heart disease, diabetes, dementia. It's very, very important because they don't know what to do with people with dementia and Alzheimer's, so very important. Turmeric is for reducing inflammation, Alzheimer's, and cancer. And the last one is lentils. It's anti-cholesterol, anti-weight gain, anti-anemia, anti-constipation. And it will also help you fight the risk of disease, heart disease and cancer. That wasn't the only thing I saw in this book that was great. I gave my mom a copy of Reader's Digest, and she said, look at the book, look at the article with the bear who came to dinner. There's a guy that actually train the bear, and they're friendly, and he's eating with the bear, and he's scratching the bear's back. I couldn't believe it. You're talking about this big, up in the sky, 10 to 12-foot monster. It was unreal. There was also the haunted house next door. It reminded me of The Lovely Bones. I don't know if you've ever seen or watched the movie. I read the book, and I watched the movie, and I tell you, that was frightening. Then there's one thing from The Weight of the Badge. This is a true story about a trooper who got killed, and his wife said, I want people to understand how tormented these guys get after just years and years of this drip, drip, drip of evil and unappreciation. And this is so true. And the last thing he said was, our job is keeping 99% of the population safe from the other 1%. Fellow Toastmasters and guests, I hope you appreciated this as much as I did. And I'm going to give these to you after the show. Okay?
Thank you so much,
very
Joan.
welcome.
That was very interesting. So we are learning a lot of lessons from this show today about passing on important information or fun information or information. So as we go through our homes and our things that we accumulate, it's a very good idea to pass things on. And now I would like to introduce someone also from our Staten Island Toastmaster community who had mentioned something to me that made me very happy. I am involved in a lot of personal development and manifesting things in my life, and when I received the email from Vanessa, when I asked for people to come to do speeches on the show, and Vanessa said that she had manifested me calling her to come on the show, she doesn't realize how happy she made me, because that is something that I like to do in my life, manifesting things. So now I'd like to welcome Vanessa Robinson, a child with fur. Everybody welcome Vanessa.
Thanks a lot, Jane. When we were little, my sister and I used to beg our mom for a cute, furry pet. Every time we wouldn't even get a chance to finish, she would abruptly say, no. Well, let's bounce back a little bit here. October 1st, 1987. Something magical happened. I was 11 and Victoria was about to turn 10, and all the planets were lined up for us. Blackie and Frisky were 9 weeks old, and they were brothers from a litter of 5. They had been born in an alley behind our home. These kittens, they were absolutely adorable. Their siblings were sent to good homes, and even their mother had been adopted. They were left behind. We somehow conned my mother into coming outside and taking a look at them. She sat down on a stoop in front of the front door, and I handed her one little baby in each hand, and she sat there staring at them. So she picked them up, gave them back to us, and as we walked towards the front door, we opened it just a little bit, and as we're getting into the front hallway, she said, we'll have a trial week. So Victoria and I looked at each other, and we gave each other a brief look. Yeah. So the next morning we woke up, we had to go to school, had to go to work, had no idea what to do with these things. So we locked them in my mother's room. Later on that evening, we came home, and I don't know how they did it, these two, they couldn't have weighed more than 4 pounds each. They peed all over the mattress, completely soaked it. And my mother, she did nothing, said nothing. So we knew this was it. This was a done deal. They destroyed jewelry, furniture, expensive clothing, and my wonderfully naughty critters even damaged electronics, a VCR. Blackie was 10 when he was put to sleep, and there are no words that can do that kind of immeasurable grief justice. I had never lost anyone close to me. I was 22 years old. It took a long time for me to begin to start to exist again. Frisky would live to be 15. One of my favorite stories of my cats was one Christmas, 1994, we were all sitting at the table. We were eating, stuffing ourselves, and gossiping. And Blackie, who was about maybe 7, and, well, because I've had cats after also, we're not allowed to have a Christmas tree. I haven't had one in about 30 years. So we're just sitting there, and Blackie is walking very slowly along in the dining room, and we see him. He has a piece of tinsel sticking out of his butt. So I had to go over to him and very, very gently pull this out and, of course, lock them up. August 10th, 2003, a new chapter began. Daisy was 6 months and Stuart was 3 months. I did not get any sleep for about 4 months because of these two. For the next 14 years, though, these stunning creatures were almost a constant source of love, joy, and amusement for me and my family. The boy used to climb above the refrigerator, and he would fight me when I would try to carry him back down. And the girl, she loved to take naps for hours and hours in a round, small basket on the kitchen table. I used to wake up in the morning and usually feel a tail around my neck. If it was silky, it was Stuart. And if it was fluffy, it was Daisy. And they were talkers. Meow, meow, meow. Called this speech a child with fur because when Vicki and I were teenagers, we realized that we did not want to have anything to do with motherhood, but we still wanted and needing something to care for, something to nurture. And I had heard somebody remark once to my mother that when a person is childless and they have a pet, that pet is your child. 30 years straight, I am not embarrassed to call myself the best cat mommy in the world. Was it worth it? The time, the money, breaking up fur-cane fights at 3 a.m.? You bet it was. There's nothing more amazing than the feeling you get when you arrive home after being gone for hours and hours at school or work, and you see this cute little cat, this cute little, looks like a stuffed teddy bear, waiting and watching you in the window, and then getting excited when they realize you're about to open the front door. Not having any pets for the past 2 years has been strange for me. For decades, my identity was wrapped up in having cats. Having said that, I cannot wait for the next chance to be the best cat mommy again. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Vanessa. That was very interesting. I was waiting to hear about your mother going a little crazy with all that damage. But I guess she became attached to those little critters also.
Yes.
So now we are going to start our evaluations. Our first evaluator is Somesh Chablani, and he is evaluating my speech. Somesh?
Thank you, Jane. Am I really funny? You indeed are very funny, Jane. Breakfast is what they call is feedback is the breakfast of champion. In Toastmasters, not only we give feedback to the speaker, but it also helps all the audience to understand what we can do to improve our speeches. Jane, probably from today we'll call you Funny Jane because your speech really had all the 3 elements of a great speech, which is what we see, what we hear, and what we feel. You started by telling us about laughter and smiling. The second, you also gave personal stories about your dad and your personal life and how even serious situations you turned it into a very positive, I would say, situation where you took it very lightly, and more importantly, you had a very positive approach. So keep it up. And specifically, when you gave that incident about your husband, we probably all had a very serious look. But I think the way you narrated, and as you said, the way you say it counts more than how you say it. So overall, I really enjoyed your speech, Jane. I think you can definitely be a great motivator, and you had a message with your speech. So, thank you, Jane.
Thank you very much, Somesh. We try to be funny. We try to give people a very good outlook and try to make things very light so that we don't take ourselves seriously. And now I'd like to welcome Vanessa back, and she will be evaluating our second speaker, Ev Williams. Vanessa?
Thanks, Jane. Ev, I'm going to try to be brief. You had an excellent speech, so I'm going to try to just bring it down to a couple of sentences here. How convincing was the speaker's argument on his or her viewpoint? I thought it was very good. You gave clear examples. How effective was the speaker's emotional appeal? I thought it was pretty good. You explained the importance of the use of communication, not just in business, but in all areas of life that we can all relate to. How closely did the presentation relate to the audience's interest? As I mentioned, it's relatable. You mentioned business, dealing with people short-term, long-term in the workforce, which I thought was excellent and useful. Comment on the smoothness and effective of the talk. I thought it was very professionally done. You had smooth transition, no stammering. How did the visual aids contribute to the speaker's persuasive effort? You managed to get our attentions very early with your visual aid with the word card for communis, which I've personally never heard, so I added one word to my vocabulary today. How persuasive was the speech? I would say fairly persuasive. You gave us important facts about communication, verbal and nonverbal, including percentage, which I think a lot of people are not aware of. And what else might the speaker have done to convince you? I think you could have maybe appeared just a little more enthused, moved your hands a little less, but overall I'd say it was dynamite. I mean, you seem to have a gift for telling stories in a very natural manner.
Thank you very much, Vanessa. I have the privilege of evaluating Somesh Chablani's speech, Laughter Yoga. Somesh, how you presented this speech and how your excitement translated to make us feel good. This gave me something to think about, something that I want to share with my family, I want to share with the audience. I want to bring it to people to tell them, please, don't try hot yoga, don't try regular yoga. You must do laughter yoga. This will benefit you. Outside of the fact of learning that laughter now will help my face, and maybe I won't need as many creams if I use my laughter. But I was so engaged in what you were saying, how you were presenting it. It made me feel good, and I hope that our audience, that it makes you feel good. You were able to give us the reasons why laughter is important. You were able to show us how to do some of the moves. I took some notes. We smile, we laugh, we clap. And here at Toastmasters, we encourage clapping to make all of our speakers feel appreciated. So thank you very much for sharing that speech with us today. And now I'd like to bring our fourth evaluator up, Rachel Weiss, who is a distinguished Toastmaster. And Rachel is evaluating Vanessa Robinson's speech. So everybody welcome Rachel Weiss.
I believe I'm evaluating Joan Maurizio's speech.
Oh, I'm sorry,
and
Joan
it's going to
Maurizio.
be inspiring your audience. The title of Joan's speech was, "You're done, so pass it on." Joan, I always enjoy the little tidbits that you bring out from Reader's Digest. It has really pertinent things for us and for the audience. One of the things I'd like to see you do to inspire the audience is go beyond a book report, but try and make it personal. There were a lot of different things that you could have done to bring it in personally. We're in the holiday season, so when you're talking about the fruits and the nuts, you can talk about those being put out for your community, put out for your guests when they're coming to visit you. Maybe an anecdote or two about how it has affected you and how you've interacted because of that article. The other thing is maybe bring something from outside in. For example, a walnut is the shape of a brain, and walnuts are good for brain function. Or the almond is the shape of your kidneys, and it's good for kidney function. Overall, I really do enjoy these stories, but let's expand on them a little bit more and make them personal. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Rachel. And now we are bringing Ev Williams back, and he will be evaluating Vanessa's speech. So everybody, please welcome Ev Williams.
Great. Thank you again, Jane. I have the pleasure of evaluating Vanessa's speech here, and this speech comes from the Pathway Manual. It's an effective coaching path. And the purpose of the speech is for the member to practice using a story within the speech or giving a speech that is a story, and those of us that were listening, which you all were. It was quite obvious that she succeeded in doing that. Why? Well, the first thing that I recognized and I liked was when we were little. So as soon as Vanessa got up here, she got right into the story. No time wasted. And then there was chronological order associated with the speech, which I think is very helpful. For those of us that are listening, you gave us October 1st, 87, August 10th, 2003. There were some very good other things that you did. For example, when you were speaking about, I think you said you were looking at each other, you and your sister. So you looked and you showed us the body movement of you looking. Then you said something about circling around the litter basket. And then when you were listing off things about that were destroyed by the cat, you gave us the finger list. So it's very easy to follow you when your nonverbal cues are matching your verbal ones. And just for a suggestion, because the speech was very well, I would just highlight there were moments during the speech where I think you could have captured your emotions and got us to feel where you were, especially when you said that you had time to live again. I think that was a good opportunity to get us more involved with your emotions, because it was very, just kind of matched the tone of prior sentence. Thank you.
Now, we're going to start our table topics portion of this show. Ev Williams is our first table topics, is going to answer our first table topic question. Ev, what is your favorite childhood memory that you remember made you happy?
My favorite childhood memory that I remember that made me happy. Well, there are so many, but the one that I will look to now, I'm going to go back to first grade. This was probably the most influential year of school that I had. My first grade teacher, whom I loved dearly, Miss Goodman, if you're watching. There was one day where I forgot my lunch home, and I was a cold lunch guy. I didn't like to eat hot lunch for whatever reason. And I was also very sensitive, and I just remember crying. I didn't have any lunch. And the fact that my teacher took the time to go to a pizzeria to get me something to eat because I was probably being spoiled, by not eating the hot lunch, I just remembered that moment, and it made me feel as though I mattered. That jumps out to me as I'm reflecting, because there are so many moments with family, but just a stranger showing care, that moment made me very happy to know that someone else cared about how I was feeling at that moment.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much, Ev. And next, our next question will be answered by Vanessa. And Vanessa, what makes you smile and why?
Wow. You're killing me, Jane. What makes me smile and why? I would say that what makes me smile the most would be my favorite thing to do ever since I was about 3 years old. I started swimming young. Everyone in my family did, actually. Swimming. I don't do it as often as I used to, but when I used to swim, it didn't matter if it was at preschool, if I was on vacation. Most of the time I went swimming in lakes when I was on vacation in the summer, or indoor pools. The reason why it makes me smile is because it makes me feel so good inside to go swimming. Ever since I was little, that's all I can think of is the association. To me, it was leisure, it was breathtaking, it was social. Or sometimes I would swim by myself late at night, cold or hot. I just loved that feeling of just lying down on a raft, or just swimming, or just floating a little bit. It's so enjoyable, and it's so simple. Doesn't matter if it's deep waters, if you're in a pool with a staircase. I never needed swimmies or anything like that. Never had lessons. But I would have to say I just feel very, very comfortable when I'm in the water, and it's such a relaxing feeling. I can't help but smile.
Thank you very much, Vanessa. And my next table topic question is going to Anthony Muniz. Anthony, what are you most grateful for and why?
What I am most grateful for and why? Good question. What I'm most grateful for and why is the festive holidays, such as Thanksgiving, Christmas, the Easters, New Year's, because it's always, in my family, a place of to gather, smile, as we spoke about smile earlier, and just be appreciative of all the wonderful things in life. So those are the things that do have that type of effect on me when we get together. It's those things that we appreciate, the things of life, the children, the responsibility we have to them, and them following our footsteps as we follow our parents' footsteps before us. And those are the things for me that highlight that. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Anthony. So Mesh will be answering our next table topic question. I asked Ev what was his favorite childhood memory that made him happy. So Mesh, what is your favorite memory that made you happy as an adult?
Great question, Jane. We have a lot of memories as adults, but one strong memory which I can definitely remember as an adult is specifically when both my children, they attended Toastmasters session with me, and they got the courage to go and volunteer in school, not only to sign up for public speaking, but they both won first prize. That made me proud. As they say, the leader today has to talk the talk and walk the walk. And what I learned from that particular incident is I indirectly was a role model to my kids. And when they saw me in the Toastmasters Club delivering that speech, probably that was the aha moment. And they gathered their courage, and they delivered an excellent speech. Both me and my wife truly enjoyed it. So that was my answer, Jay.
Thank you so much, Somesh. So I am going to, our last table topic question is going to be by Anupama. What is your favorite quote? Everybody welcome Anupama.
My favorite quote is, "Leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less." That's a quote by John C. Maxwell, who is also my mentor. And it is very true. As a leader, we could lead by position, by title. We could lead by force. We could lead in different ways. But the best way to lead is by influence. And influencing people makes people feel good about them. And that's what a leader is supposed to do. You're supposed to make people feel good about themselves. When you are with people, you're not supposed to try to make yourself feel good, but you have to make others feel good. So that is why leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less.
Thank you very much, Anupama. I want to say this has been such an enlightening show and so fun to host. I hope that you enjoyed it. Somesh, I hope that you enjoyed being here with us today.
Absolutely, Jane. It was enlightening, and I think every speech had a mission and a purpose. There are a lot of good takeaways, and thank you for your leadership to Toastmasters and to the community.
Thank you so much for those kind words. It has been so enlightening. I use that word again, but that is how I feel. I feel happy after hosting this show today. I feel that we have been able to share the joy that Toastmasters brings to us. And I want to ask those in our TV audience to consider joining a Toastmaster club in our community. Come out, try it, see if it makes you happy, see if it can help you. It is something that has helped me and helped all the people that have been here today to present speeches. It has been a change. It changes the way you look at public speaking. Even after your first icebreaker, you're told that you can then grow in your speeches. We need to encourage it. Thank you so much.